It's no wonder that in 2021, San Francisco issued only 2,000 permits for new homes. Sure, there are people living in the streets, but that's because we want to make sure the apartments they don't live in are perfect. I don't fear AI anymore because it couldn't possibly be any more robotic than the humans who run things now. In San Francisco, the city's so nice you'll step in poop twice. So the city tried to build a public toilet last year, but then gave up when the cost hit $1.7 million. Not $1.7 million for a public toilet system, $1.7 million for one toilet.
It's finally happening. Maher has gone after Gavin Newsom for tearing California apart. And honestly, it's surprising, because Maher used to be a cheerleader for the governor during his harsh critiques of his state. Now he's pointing out that Newsom's overregulation and sky-high taxes are sinking California. The takedown was sharp, funny, and unflinching.
It's the vast network of regulators, administrators, inspectors, contract reviewers, project managers, fee assessors, special commissioners, zoning officers, and consultants whose jobs seem to be to make sure nothing ever happens and then charge you for it. The people who answer the phone, "Permit office, how may I hinder you?"
Maher takes aim at California's obsession with creating endless agencies, offices, and task forces that barely accomplish anything. Instead of addressing real problems, the state buries everything under layers of bureaucracy that grind progress to a halt. Anyone who actually lives in California knows how absurd it has become. Even something as simple as fixing a garage door can turn into a bureaucratic nightmare. You often need 2 or 3 separate permits, each demanding paperwork, fees, inspections, and endless waiting. What should take an afternoon can drag on for weeks or even months. That's exactly the frustration Maher is calling out. His critique goes beyond mere annoyance. It highlights a system designed to slow down everyday people while government offices keep multiplying. The irony, as he points out, is that the more agencies California creates, the less efficient the state becomes, leaving residents tangled in red tape instead of letting them get things done.
It feels like San Francisco is actually proud of being impossible. Asked about the toilet, a spokesman for the Department of Public Works said, "We are a city of public input." Okay, but I'm stepping in public output. Meanwhile, the median time to get approval to build a house there is 627 days. That's 217 days longer than it took to build the Empire State Building. You need 87 permits, 15 from the Planning Commission, 26 from the Public Utilities Commission and the Fire Department, 19 from building inspectors, 17 from the Public Works, 10 related to public spaces, and 1 from a guy in a t-shirt that says Federal Inspector.
Take a look at the crazy maze of permits required just to build a home in San Francisco. What should be a straightforward construction process quickly turns into a bureaucratic endurance test. Before a single brick is even laid, builders have to navigate layers of approvals, environmental reviews, neighborhood hearings, design boards, and compliance checks. Each permit comes with its own fees, delays, and consultants, stacking up fast. By the time the entire permitting process is finished, nearly 80% of the building budget can already be gone before construction even begins. Maher points to this as a key reason housing in San Francisco is insanely expensive. It's not just supply and demand. The system itself makes building so costly and time-consuming that only the wealthy can afford to play. The result? Fewer homes, higher prices, and a city increasingly out of reach for everyday people.
15% of workers in America work for the government. That's 24 million people with one shared vision: to fine you if your mailbox is too big. They say a conservative is a liberal who just got mugged, but it could also be a liberal who just got blocked trying to remodel a porch. Or got a parking ticket because their car was facing out instead of in. Last year, Wyoming began construction on the largest wind farm in North America that will power 2 million homes in Arizona, Nevada, and California. And to think, it only took 18 years. Not to build it, to approve it.
It took a staggering 18 years just to approve a single project designed to bring wind power from Wyoming to California. Let that sink in. In a time when politicians endlessly preach urgency on climate change, a clean energy project languished in regulatory purgatory for nearly 2 decades. 18 years of environmental reviews, hearings, revisions, lawsuits, and bureaucratic box checking before anyone could even break ground. By the time it was finally approved, technology had moved on, costs had skyrocketed, and the political moment had long passed. This is exactly the contradiction critics like Maher highlight. Leaders who constantly talk about green energy while running a system that makes building it painfully slow, almost impossible. Rather than speeding up solutions, the regulatory maze strangles them. If it takes 18 years to approve wind power, it's fair to ask whether the system is meant to solve problems or just stall them indefinitely.
There's an area where homeless people were urinating and defecating, and it was starting to annoy the people breaking into cars. So the city tried to build a public toilet last year, but then gave up when the cost hit $1.7 million. Not $1.7 million for a public toilet system, $1.7 million for one toilet. So then a private company took pity on San Francisco and offered to build them their toilet for free. But after, quote, project management, construction management, architecture and engineering fees, permits, civic design review, surveys, contract preparation, and cost estimation, the free toilet was still going to cost almost $1 million.
Maher continues his takedown of Newsom by highlighting the infamous public toilet fiasco in San Francisco during the governor's tenure. What should have been a simple, practical solution to the city's growing sanitation problems turned into a textbook case of bureaucratic failure. The project racked up nearly $1 million in consulting fees, planning costs, and administrative expenses. Architects were hired, committees formed, and endless reviews dragged on. After all that spending, Maher asks the toughest question: was the toilet ever built? The answer: no. Not a single usable facility exists. Maher uses this example to show how progressive governance can burn through money chasing processes instead of delivering results. It's not just wasteful, he argues, it's humiliating. A city can pour a fortune into debating a toilet and still fail to produce one.
Semaphore estimates that if the red tape could be cut in everything that's currently stuck in the renewable queue, the United States would be 80% zero carbon in 7 years. The enemy to clean air isn't just big oil, it's big permitting. It's not that America isn't able to get anything done, it's that we're not allowed to. Of course, there should be consideration of the environment on everything we build, but as so often happens on the left, they seem to have no ability to recognize when they've taken a concept way too far and are in fact hurting their own cause.
Bureaucracy exists in every state, red or blue. But in blue states like California, it seems to reach an extreme. Take the state's treatment of the oil industry, for example. California has repeatedly layered new regulations, taxes, and oversight rules, making operations costly and unpredictable. Governor Newsom even proposed a windfall profits tax on oil companies to redistribute record earnings back to Californians, on top of already steep compliance costs and fees. Federal data shows that California drivers already pay some of the highest gas prices in the nation, in part due to strict environmental programs and taxes that can add nearly $1 per gallon. Major refiners like Phillips 66 and Valero have announced shutdowns or considered selling California refineries, citing the regulatory burden. These examples highlight how red tape and high taxes can drive away investment and shrink domestic energy production in the state.
America's become Gulliver, the giant that got tied down with 1,000 tiny ropes by Lilliputians, the horde of little people who do big damage. Build back better? Sounds good. So does shovel-ready jobs. As Barack Obama once said, one of the biggest lessons he learned as president was there is no such thing as shovel-ready projects. Environmental impact statements used to be a few pages long. Now they're thousands of pages of legalistic nonsense and take an average of 4.5 years to complete, with thousands of bureaucrats filling out millions of paper forms that kill hundreds of forests to answer the question, is this good for the environment?
Maher unloads on Newsom and other blue state governors with one of his sharpest metaphors yet, comparing them to Gulliver bound by tiny Lilliputians. Each regulation, agency, or rule may seem small, harmless, or even well-intentioned on its own, but together they become suffocating. Maher's point is that these governors aren't brought down by one huge policy mistake, but by thousands of minor ones stacking up year after year. Every new board, commission, permit, and compliance rule adds another rope, another knot, and another delay. Eventually, even the most powerful state governments can't move. Instead of governing with flexibility and common sense, they get trapped in their own systems, unable to build, fix, or reform anything at a reasonable pace. Maher uses this analogy to show how blue states, especially California, have allowed bureaucracy to grow into full-blown paralysis. The result isn't progress, it's stagnation dressed up as good intentions.
Sure, there are people living in the streets, but that's because we want to make sure the apartments they don't live in are perfect. I don't fear AI anymore because it couldn't possibly be any more robotic than the humans who run things now.
Maher argues that Gavin Newsom and his inner circle can't think outside the box when it comes to fixing the bureaucracy that's choking California. Instead of tackling the system head-on, they rely on the same tired playbook, creating new agencies, adding more rules, and promising reforms that never actually simplify anything. Maher's frustration is clear. California doesn't lack ideas or resources. It lacks leaders willing to challenge their own machinery. Every problem is met with another layer of oversight, another task force, and another regulation, all of which make the state harder to govern and more expensive to live in. According to Maher, Newsom and his allies are trapped in a political bubble where bureaucracy is mistaken for progress. The result? Paralysis. Major issues like housing, energy, and infrastructure remain unresolved. Not because solutions don't exist, but because the political will to cut through the red tape simply isn't there.
So let me finish with this. Not that there was ever any reason to build it in the first place, and not that there would be any reason to do it again. But just as an exercise in realizing how far we've regressed as the can-do people, I think we should all try to imagine how it will go down if we tried to sculpt Mount Rushmore out of a mountain today. First, we'd have to make the mountain handicap accessible, so we could hire handicapped people to work on the side of a mountain. Then there'd be a 10-year delay while we studied the effect of construction noise on the mating habits of woodchucks. Then another 10 years to obtain ethnically sourced dynamite and find a sculptor who doesn't only work from home.
Maher mocks Gavin Newsom and his political peers by joking about what it would cost and how long it would take if America tried to carve Mount Rushmore today. What was once a bold engineering feat completed with limited technology, Maher argues, would now be buried under environmental reviews, cultural impact studies, lawsuits, and endless public hearings. The project wouldn't be stopped by granite or gravity. It would be stalled by paperwork. Costs would soar into the billions before a single face was even sketched. Committees would argue over symbolism, activists would protest the intent, and regulators would freeze the process indefinitely. Maher uses Mount Rushmore to show how modern governance, especially in blue states, has lost the ability to tackle bold, transformative projects. Instead of asking how to get things done, leaders obsess over process, optics, and compliance. The result? A culture where even imagining something monumental feels impossible, let alone achieving it.
There's also many regulations that aren't necessary, I mean, you really don't believe that the state we live in, California, is lacking regulation. There's over 300,000 regulations. I mean,
Well, maybe they're needed.
They're not. When I tried to put in a garage door, I had to have 3 inspections. There should have been none. I should be allowed to change my garage door.
Are you kidding? Really? It was about a garage door?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that is...
No, you know this about California. Come
No,
on.
I don't.
Well,
I'm sorry, I don't.
You don't? You've never heard that California is overtaxed and overregulated? That we are a one-party state where there's sort of no checks on that sort of extreme leftism.
In the end, Maher's critique of Gavin and blue state governance goes far beyond a few jokes or viral sound bites. He's exposing a system that talks endlessly about progress but consistently fails to deliver results. From absurd permitting processes and runaway bureaucracy to stalled energy projects and million-dollar toilets that never materialize, the pattern is impossible to ignore. California isn't short on money, talent, or ambition. It's drowning in red tape. Maher's frustration reflects what many residents quietly feel, a government more focused on managing process than solving problems. His Mount Rushmore analogy drives the point home. Today's leadership would debate, delay, and over-regulate bold ideas into oblivion. Whether Newsom admits it or not, the message is clear. If leaders cannot simplify, streamline, and think beyond their own bureaucratic instincts, California's decline won't be a mystery, it will be self-inflicted. And that wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.